oldest form of a written record that we have.
What we're looking at here is a Sumerian tablet that actually shows the Tree of Life.
In 1849, archaeologist Austen Henry Layard uncovered a clay tablet beneath the ruins of Nineveh. It remained untranslated for over a century. When scholars finally deciphered it in the 1970s, they discovered a catalog of 47 star systems. 46 carried the same notation: life exists. But the final entry was marked differently. The translation read, "They came here." That star system was not Earth.
This is the line that says, "I am Kurash, Shar-Kishati, king of the world, the great king, king of Babylon."
That actually shows the Tree of Life, flanked by divine beings. You can see here the Anunnaki on each side.
The tablet that took a century to read Austen Henry Layard was excavating the ruins of ancient Nineveh in 1849 when his team uncovered what would become one of the largest collections of ancient texts ever found in a single location. The Library of Ashurbanipal, the great archive of the Assyrian king, held over 30,000 clay tablets when archaeologists reached it. Tablets of every kind: administrative records, royal decrees, literary texts, medical prescriptions, astronomical observations, religious hymns, and legal codes. The volume was enormous. The translation work began immediately and has continued in various forms to this day. Most of the tablets from the Library of Ashurbanipal fit into recognizable categories. A trained specialist in cuneiform can look at a tablet and understand what kind of document it is within minutes. One tablet in the collection did not fit any recognizable category. It took until the 1970s for researchers to work through its contents with enough depth to understand what they were looking at. The tablet lists 47 star systems. For each one, it provides what appear to be astronomical coordinates written in a three-dimensional format, locating each system in space relative to reference points. For 46 of the 47 systems, the same notation appears in the entry. The phrase translates as "life exists." The 47th entry is different. Its notation translates as "they came here." The entry marked "they came here" does not refer to Earth. It identifies a star system that the Sumerians called Nibiru-Antu, located in a region of the sky corresponding to the constellation Lyra. And the tablet does not simply list this system in isolation. It maps a pathway of 47 stars forming a route through the galaxy, beginning at Nibiru-Antu in Lyra and ending at our solar system. The entry for our solar system is not marked "life exists." It is marked "contact." The distinction is deliberate and consistent with the rest of the tablet's internal logic. 46 systems have life. One system is the origin point of those who came here. Our solar system is the destination. The tablet is not a catalog of interesting stars. It is a map of a journey. What the Sumerians should not have known. Understanding why this tablet is significant requires understanding what the Sumerians knew about the night sky and how that knowledge compares to what they should have been able to figure out from the ground with the tools they had. The Sumerians were exceptional astronomers by any standard. Their records of planetary motion are precise enough that modern astronomers still consult them. Their eclipse predictions matched actual events to within minutes. They tracked the planet Venus across many decades with consistency and accuracy. This level of observational astronomy is remarkable, but it is not inexplicable. Careful watching of the night sky over long periods, combined with systematic recording and mathematical modeling, can produce this kind of result. What is harder to explain is specific knowledge that requires information unavailable to ground-based naked-eye observation. The Sumerians knew about Uranus. Uranus is not visible to the naked eye under normal conditions. It was not officially discovered in the Western scientific tradition until William Herschel identified it in 1781 using a telescope. The Sumerians not only knew it existed but described its characteristics accurately. They knew about Neptune. Neptune is not visible to the naked eye at all without optical aid. It was not officially confirmed as a planet until 1846, and its existence was only predicted before that through mathematical inference from the behavior of Uranus. The Sumerians described it. They described the asteroid belt, the region between Mars and Jupiter containing rocky debris, in terms consistent with what that region actually contains. They understood the Earth as a sphere that rotated. They calculated the length of the year with a precision that modern measurements confirm, and they attributed all of this knowledge directly to the Anunnaki, who they described as beings who came from elsewhere and gave this understanding to human civilization. The star chart tablet fits within this pattern. The 47 star systems it lists with coordinates and life assessments and pathway markings represents a level of astronomical knowledge that is not explained by careful watching of the night sky from the ground. Someone had a perspective that the ground does not provide. The pathway through the stars. The most technically specific element of the tablet is the pathway itself. The 47 star systems are not listed randomly or organized by brightness or by their apparent position in the sky as seen from Earth. They are organized as a route, a sequence of systems that, when plotted in 3 dimensions, forms a connected path through the galaxy beginning at Nibiru-Untu in Lyra and ending at our solar system. The margin of the tablet contains annotations beside 3 of the 47 entries. These annotations are brief and were among the most debated elements of the translation when the tablet was first fully processed. 3 systems along the pathway carry additional notes. One reads, "Refuse the descent." Another reads, "Sealed by the council." The third reads, "The warning was not heard." These annotations sit beside systems along the route, not at the origin or destination. They appear to be notes about what happened at those systems during the journey. Systems where something went wrong. Systems where the planned contact did not proceed as intended. The language is administrative in character, the same tone used elsewhere in Sumerian records when something did not go according to the established procedure. Whatever the journey was, it was not uniformly successful. 3 stops along the route produced outcomes that someone considered significant enough to mark permanently in the record. The 47 star pathway was not a single smooth transit. It was a route with documented complications at 3 specific points. The final entry on the tablet, the one marking our solar system as contact rather than life exists, carries no annotation. It is the only system on the list besides the 3 annotated ones that does not carry the standard life exists notation. Whatever happened here was different enough from the other 43 systems that it required a completely different categorization. The researcher whose work was buried. When the tablet was finally translated with enough depth to reveal its contents in the 1970s, the academic response followed a familiar pattern. The translation itself was accepted as technically accurate. The interpretation of what the tablet might mean was a different matter. In 1981, a researcher named Dr. Werner Stein published a paper arguing that the tablet's astronomical content should be read as a literal rather than symbolic record. His position was straightforward. The coordinates in the tablet were precise enough to test against modern star catalogs. The life exists notations were assessments. The pathway was a route. The tablet was a document recording real astronomical information. And the question of how the Sumerians obtained that information was the question worth investigating. His funding was cut. His institutional position was eliminated. The tablet was reclassified at the British Museum, restricting access to researchers who applied with specific institutional approval. The paper itself was not formally refuted. No line-by-line rebuttal appeared in academic literature pointing out errors in his coordinate analysis or his translation choices. The work was not engaged with on its merits. It was made harder to pursue. In 2003, a researcher named Robert Harrington began working with the coordinates in the tablet and cross-referencing them against modern star data. He confirmed that the coordinate system used in the tablet, when properly interpreted, placed real star systems at the indicated positions. The mapping worked. The systems the tablet described existed where the tablet said they would be. His research was stolen from his office. Shortly afterward, he was approached by individuals who identified themselves as working for government contractors. He did not speak publicly about the content of those conversations. The work stopped. The results that had been produced were not formally published. The tablet remained accessible only to approved researchers. What the Kepler data showed. The 46 systems on the tablet marked life exists can be tested against modern data in a specific way. If the tablet's assessments are accurate, the star systems it marks should show a higher rate of confirmed planet detections in habitable zones than a random sample of similar stars would predict. The Kepler Space Telescope, which operated from 2009 to 2018, confirmed the existence of thousands of planets orbiting other stars and produced the most detailed catalog of exoplanet data available. Researchers working with the tablet's coordinates cross-referenced its 46 life exists systems against the Kepler data. Of the 32 systems in the tablet's list that overlapped with Kepler's observation area, 18 showed confirmed planet detections in orbital zones where liquid water could potentially exist on a planet's surface. That is a hit rate above 50%. The baseline rate for randomly selected stars showing confirmed habitable zone planets in the Kepler data is approximately 5%. The difference between a 5% baseline and a 50% result across 32 systems is not something that chance comfortably explains. If the tablet's life exists assessments were random assignments or symbolic decorations rather than actual evaluations, the hit rate against modern data should look like the baseline. It does not look like the baseline. This does not prove the Sumerians had access to information about exoplanets. It does make the alternative explanation that the notations are random or symbolic, harder to maintain without addressing why the correlation exists. Other cultures pointing at the same stars. The tablet from Nineveh does not stand alone as an ancient record of unusual astronomical knowledge. Several other cultural traditions contain specific claims about star systems that have attracted attention from researchers comparing them against modern data. The Dogon people of West Africa maintained a detailed oral tradition about the star Sirius that described it as a binary system with a small, dense companion star invisible to the naked eye. The companion star, now called Sirius B, was not confirmed by Western astronomers until 1862, when its gravitational effects on Sirius A became measurable enough to infer its existence. The Dogon tradition described its orbital period and its density with a specificity that generated sustained academic discussion about where this knowledge came from. The Hopi people of the American Southwest maintain a tradition describing star visitors who came to Earth in the distant past and provided the knowledge that shaped their civilization. The specific star directions pointed to in Hopi tradition align with systems in the same region of the sky referenced in the Sumerian tablet. These traditions developed on different continents among peoples with no documented contact with each other or with Mesopotamia. They share a consistent theme: beings from specific star systems made contact with Earth in the distant past, and that contact shaped human civilization. The Sumerian tablet provides what appears to be the most technically detailed version of the same claim, with specific coordinates, a mapped route, and an annotation system distinguishing between systems where contact was planned and systems where complications arose. The human origins question. The tablet does not exist in isolation within the broader body of Sumerian texts. Its contents connect directly to claims made across multiple Sumerian documents about the origin of the human species. The Sumerian creation texts, including the Atrahasis epic and accounts associated with the Anunnaki figures Enki and Ninhursag, describe the deliberate creation of humanity through a process combining Anunnaki genetic material with that of an existing Earth species. The created being is called Lulu, meaning the mixed one. The process is described in terms that read as a project record rather than a religious account, with multiple attempts before a stable result is achieved. The texts that describe this process reference what they call the House of Creation, a location where the genetic work took place. The language used is specific and practical. The outcome is described as a designed species created for a purpose with characteristics that were chosen rather than evolved. Modern genetics has identified several features of the human genome that researchers have found difficult to account for through standard evolutionary models. The relatively sudden appearance of certain cognitive capabilities in the fossil record, genetic sequences that appear inserted rather than gradually developed, the specific differences between human DNA and that of our closest biological relatives that are larger than simple evolutionary divergence would predict. The Sumerian explanation for these anomalies is direct. Humanity is a designed species. The designers are the beings described in the star chart tablet as the ones who came here from Nibiru Antu in Lyra. Earth is not simply a planet with life. Earth is a contact point, a location where an external intelligence reached the indigenous biology and produced something new. The 3,600-year cycle. The Sumerian records describe Nibiru, the homeworld or vehicle of the Anunnaki, as following an elliptical orbital path that brings it into the inner solar system at intervals of 3,600 years. This cycle appears consistently across multiple Sumerian and Babylonian texts. It is not a single mention in one document. It is a recurring figure in the records of a culture that kept precise astronomical data. If the cycle is taken as a literal orbital period and back-calculated, the last return of Nibiru would have occurred approximately in 1600 BCE. This period corresponds to significant simultaneous disruptions in multiple ancient civilizations. The collapse of Bronze Age palace cultures, the eruption events associated with the Thera volcano, dramatic changes in settlement patterns across the Eastern Mediterranean and Near East all cluster around this period. The Sumerian texts predict disruption as an associated effect of Nibiru's approach, including increased seismic activity, climate disruption, and electromagnetic interference. The next return, if the 3,600-year cycle is accurate, falls within the current era. Some researchers working with the tablet have proposed that Nibiru is not a planet in the conventional sense, but rather a large spacecraft, a vessel capable of moving between star systems using the orbital mechanics of our solar system as part of its approach and departure sequence. This interpretation is consistent with the tablet's description of a pathway of 47 systems rather than a continuous journey from Lyra in a straight line. A vessel making stops at specific systems along a route would produce a star chart that looks like the one in the tablet. In 2018, astronomers monitoring a star in the Lyra region detected unusual luminosity patterns. The brightness variations were not consistent with the normal stellar activity patterns of that type of star. The changes were regular. They followed a structure more consistent with artificial modulation than with natural stellar processes. The data was noted, flagged as requiring follow-up observation, and quietly archived without further public announcement. The core claim the tablet makes. Pull back from the individual findings and the tablet makes a single unified claim that all its components support. Humanity is a designed species. Earth is a contact point on a route that begins in Lyra and passes through 47 star systems, 36 of which have been confirmed to host planets in zones where life as we understand it is possible. The beings who designed humanity came from a specific star system, traveled a documented route, encountered complications at 3 specific points along the way, and made contact here. They created the human species through a genetic process recorded in multiple Sumerian texts. They established civilization here through a knowledge transfer documented in the king list and in the accounts of the sacred me. They left a cycle with a return period of 3,600 years built into the orbit of whatever they came in. The tablet does not make this claim in dramatic language. It makes it in the same administrative tone used for grain shipments and tax records. The star systems are listed. The coordinates are given. The life exists notations are applied to 46 of them. The 47th is marked as the origin. Our solar system is marked as the destination. Contact is the word used. The margin annotations note 3 systems where something went wrong. Refused the descent. Sealed by the council. The warning was not heard. These are the complications. 3 stops along the route where the planned contact did not happen as intended. Here, it happened. The tablet sat in the Library of Ashurbanipal for thousands of years. It was excavated in 1849. It was not fully translated until the 1970s. The researcher who argued for taking its coordinates seriously in 1981 lost his funding and his position. The researcher who confirmed his coordinate work in the early 2000s had his research stolen and was visited by people he declined to name publicly. The tablet is still in the British Museum, the coordinates are still there, the 47 systems are still listed, and the star in Lyra that the pathway begins with produced a structured luminosity pattern in 2018 that no one has publicly explained. A clay tablet lists 47 star systems, marks 46 of them as containing life, and marks 1 as the origin point of beings who came to Earth. The coordinates match real star systems. Modern exoplanet data shows a hit rate for the life exist notations far above what chance would produce. The researchers who took it seriously lost their positions or their work. The tablet is still there. The stars are still there. If this is worth following, subscribe and stay with us for what comes next.